The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.
Welcome to How to Money with Cole and Baileigh. I'm Cole.
And I'm Baileigh.
We're financial advisors at Full Swing Financial, where we coach people every day on their money.
Each episode, we cut through the noise and focus on the financial decisions that actually matter.
Our goal is simple, to help you feel more confident and more in control of your money.
Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to How to Money with Cole and Baileigh. First off, cheers to Stella's.
I'm about
Owner
half done
Abby
already.
I know. And I got Cole on a cold brew kick.
I'm on a
life-changing.
hardcore cold brew kick.
It's a little stronger.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
But we're getting to fall.
It feels fall-y today for, folks not in Iowa today. It's, like 70 and rainy.
We have 4 seasons here.
Rainy, so it's kind of nice. We needed the rain, too, so my yard looks...
That's such a farmer thing.
Yeah, well, I want my grass to look nice. All right, what do you have for us today, Baileigh?
10 biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. And this is interesting because some of these you wouldn't think are financial decisions. Most people think when they're building wealth, picking the right investments, am I making 9% return, 12% return? But we work with families all over and we've learned something very different. The biggest impact on your financial future always isn't the investment pick. It's other things. Who you marry, where you live, what do you do for a job? Do you start a business? How much debt do you take on?
So many of these are tied together too. So it's one of those things as you're making some of these decisions and think of the compounding or future effects that they might have in different layers of your life.
And maybe you've already made this decision. You're like, I wish I would have heard this sooner. That's okay. But it's in a learning experience. I mean, life, I always tell people, everyone fails forward.
Like who you marry?
Yeah.
Wish I would have thought about this.
That. Sorry, Luke. No, I'm just kidding. But number one, the biggest decision, I think this is honestly, if you get married, I'm not saying you need to be married to be financially successful, but who you marry and how you handle money will greatly impact your life if you do get married.
Yeah, I think, this can go many, many different ways, but this is, and again, all we always have is personal experiences from what we do,
Yes.
right? So we work with many couples, families, individuals, people that were engaged to married, or divorced on the back end of that. And really, the ones that seem to do it really, really well, they have a few common traits, and one is a communication, right?
Yes.
Communication and some commonality in goals. And there's not any right or wrong way to communicate, but you can generally see, hey, we're on the same team, we're heading in the same direction.
Because you can tell, and even Fidelity's 2024 couples and stay, 45% of partners fight about money. I'm not saying you're never going to fight about money, but if
you never fight about money, good for you.
Yeah,
good for you.
Yeah, but we're talking about the big things like, how much do we want to invest? How much debt do we want to take on? You got to be able, how much house should we buy? We got to be able to have these conversations. And me and Luke kind of did it backwards, baby before the marriage. And we always said we really never took the opportunity to sit down and be like, how do you feel about finances? Where are you at? And just life kind of catapulted us. We got pregnant with our first son, but we're lucky we talk about it now that we really do align financially, because I see people that don't align financially. Like some people think they want to do money together, but they want separate accounts, and the other person doesn't.
I was just going to ask you, what do you think about that? Like
separate and together accounts?
Yeah, versus, separate versus together.
My personal opinion, if you're going to do life together, absolutely combine. But I do think there's situations where people are maybe financially abused, controlled. So I'm not speaking to those. I think there are a lot of people that maybe one spouse makes the income and the other has no control. But if you can and you trust each other, which that's why you should be in marriage, you should combine money. Bigger shovel. I always say bigger shovel.
I would say like 90% of my couples I work with are together.
Yes.
I would say there's caveats.
The successful ones are.
Yep.
It's much harder to plan when you have separate bank accounts and different responsibilities. Yep. It's because I hear people like, well, I buy the groceries and he buys this, but I'm like, then who selects how much you're spending on groceries? Or, there's no...
Generally the ones that are separate, that are still successful is maybe like, hey, second marriage, or hey, some type of situation where they maybe got together later in life. Type of situation.
We're definitely aware that there's second, third marriages out there, but we're primarily speaking to your first marriage. And I think too, when you get married and you select the one, you can sit down and be like, hey, let's sacrifice X amount of years to get to point Y, or hey, let's go on these type of vacations. You know what I mean? Like those are the conversations that really, and this, I think the best spouses, your marriage is so important because they'll also push you into your career and growth and all those things. So if you feel stagnant in your job and you don't feel like you're growing, I do think sometimes that's part of your spouse.
I definitely think it's important to not everything. You don't have to agree on everything, right? But
Chelsea
you need to
agree on all your golf trips.
No, she does not. She does not agree. But we do have
commonality.
Yes, and there's certain aspirations that are the very big goals. Mm-hmm. We're very aligned on the big goals, right? In between, there's going to be some choppiness and disagreements and things that, hey, we maybe deviate or adjust, but for the most part, we know, hey, we're trending towards this, and that's what we want to be doing.
So if you're considering marrying someone, or hey, maybe you're already married and you're like, dang, I wish you would have had these conversations. Here's some questions I would definitely say. And that this one, number one, because I think this is very different for women and men. I've just noticed this in my career working with men and women. What does financial security mean to each of us?
Yep.
So if your spouse is always anxious, on edge, wondering how you're going to afford the next kid activity, or, you know what I mean? Do we have enough saved up, or are we saving enough to retirement? Like, what might be comfortable for you may not be comfortable for Chelsea. Maybe Chelsea likes X amount in savings and you're comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to be able to understand what is important to your spouse in that sense. Who's the natural saver? Who's the natural spender?
There's always one.
There's one spender in a relationship. How much debt are you comfortable carrying? Like, if I were getting married to someone today and I had not had, I'd be like, are you comfortable with debt? Do you have student debt? Like, what's your plan to pay it off?
I can imagine you at this point, like grilling your future husband. If you
ladies, this is a pro tip for you. Grill them.
Bailey's playbook for selecting a spouse.
But seriously, because these things are going to come up whether you talk about them or not. That's my point.
And you know, when you're in your younger days, you're not thinking about this. But these are things that, hey, these are questions that, you know, one, it's. Again, we're not going to get there overnight on those things, but these are questions that or communication, right? What this does is open up the dialogue between the two, because money is tough to talk about, as we found out.
I wonder what it is. Do you think it's the shame, or like, I don't know. I still find it interesting how many people get, even clients, I'm like, so how's the year going? What do you, I don't know what I'm making. I'm like,
I don't really know. Yeah. It's, some of it's shame. I think it's just very situational. You know, each situation is going to be different.
But you do not have to think about money the same, but you do need systems that you both understand and agree with to keep things going. And I want to add this. I have plenty of clients that are not married, no children, and are very financially successful. So we're not saying you have to be married, but if you're thinking about marrying someone, it does impact your you're taking on shared debt, you're taking on shared spending. If you have kids, you have to think about how your lifestyle with kids, if one's on board traveling, one's not. So definitely something that will impact your financial future.
All right, let's go on to number 2.
Yep.
Buying a home.
Right. Your largest purchase, more than likely, in your life.
And the nice thing about this one, right? You don't have to be married. This could be, first big decision. A lot of times this is one of the first, other than maybe going to college.
Yes.
Right. This would be probably your next, think of a younger professional. One of the next big decisions is, buying a house. Do I rent? Do I buy? And
the U.S. Census reported that the median monthly cost for homeowners with a mortgage reached $2,035 in 2024. That's the average median payment. Does that seem high to you? It's probably
how much?
$2,035 a month.
That seems probably
a median monthly cost home. That's probably about right. But the point is, I think the biggest decision is that people don't look like, can I afford this home? Like, I always talk about, let's not be house poor. Like, I'm not saying you can't have your dream house, but your first house or buying a home, we don't want it to stretch you where...
There's a difference between being able to get qualified for a purchase versus, hey, is this fit into my budget?
Can we truly afford this payment?
And this is, this is kind of a stereotype, or I don't want to say stereotype, but people do get in a rush sometimes to think, hey, I need to own a home. I need to own a home. And I think there's so many other decisions. I tell younger people, don't get in a rush, right? Because you don't know where, especially if you're not married, you don't have kids, you don't know where you're going to be permanently. Don't get in a rush on buying a home because one, there's more than just a mortgage. It comes with home ownership.
I was just going to say, right? The Psychology of Money. It's the best financial book. I tell you, there's a quote: a house that looks affordable when everything goes right may be unaffordable when life happens.
Yep.
Like, so many people do not think of the extra cost into a house.
Your roof, your foundation, something you buy a house and immediately like, oh, I got to put $15,000 into the foundation because it's falling apart.
Taxes, insurance.
Yes.
If you do PMI, if you don't put enough down, repairs.
And sometimes that first home, or even, you're just considering it. Sometimes it's already a stretch a little bit, just because sometimes it creeps into that, hey,
Yes.
I just want this, right? I want this versus do I need it? Or can I find something else until I'm, a little bit more stable?
And maybe it's looking at renting until you actually can afford the house you want. You know what I mean? I think people think, oh, I'm more successful if I buy the house right away. And I get it. You're putting money into something you own. But if you can turn around, and invest that or save it, and then you're not putting money into repairs or a beater, you know what I mean? What was your and Chelsea's first home?
So our first home was, we bought Chelsea's grandma's home. Actually,
I knew that. In
she
Fort
moved.
Dodge.
Yep, she moved to a care facility, and we bought the house from the family, or from her, while she was still alive. And then actually it turned out to be, it was like our first flip house, right? We put a little money into it. We're there for a year and a half, and then we sold it for a nice profit, and it allowed us to put a down payment, a bigger down payment on our next home.
Yeah.
We didn't overbuy. It was
that's what I wanted to point out.
It was actually, like super cheap, which we got a family discount, I would say, on it. But that's, in my mind, I think we did that piece. We rented for longer than what I would have expected, and we weren't in a hurry. But it was one. I was like, I had my investor brain on right there. I'm like, I think I could do some of the sweat equity work myself. Put some new flooring in, do this and this, and I can sell it in a couple, a year or two, and make some money on it.
But I do want to stress that you don't want to buy the most expensive house or a more expensive house because the bank says you could. Of course the bank is going to say that's how they, you know what I mean? Like same with me and Luke, our first home, I kind of miss it sometimes, 900 square feet, starter home, could clean in about 45 minutes. You look back and you appreciate that little old house, but we were patient, we waited, and you're able to do more in the next one. So don't rush the first one is what I'm trying to say.
And you can always, real estate's always tough because it's hard. Yes, you can always upgrade, but it's also tough to get out of sometimes, right? There are times where it's like, hey, I was just on the wrong side of this. I made a mistake. Real estate, it's not like a stock where you can just hit a button and sell it. Real estate, it takes some time. It always takes time to offload, especially if you're looking at more from an investment or maybe a vacation home or second property, or even your first home, right? It's times like, so don't rush into it. Be very thoughtful on purchasing a home.
I hear this more people like, oh, I'm not getting expected because the market's so tight. I just get the dang house inspected. Like, you know what I mean? If you have to rush to get the house, it's probably not the house for you.
I cringe on that, on the
inspection.
No, I cringe on when people rush to close a real estate, and it's because it's such a material wanted item.
Yes,
you can feel. I've been in those situations where I can just feel they don't care if there's a bunch of red flags. They've already got their mind on it and got it. And I think that's where people get in trouble and like, oh my gosh, 6 months later, like, God, I made a mistake. I should have, either asked for, a lesser price or, hey, I shouldn't have did this.
What would you tell someone is a good percentage of their income that should be going towards their housing?
Ooh, good question.
Dun, dun, dun.
What is, I'm sure there's a
20 to 25%.
Yeah, I'd say less than 20% is like somewhere in that neighborhood.
People don't look at that. Okay, if I'm making $200,000 a year, what would I, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. What is 25% of your take home that should be going into your mortgage? If 40% of your take home pay is going into your mortgage, there's not, and you hear that people are like, oh, we overbought a house and now we can't save. Like that's when you don't even enjoy it anyways. And that's why it's a big,
or your incomes went down, right?
Yes.
You did
your job wasn't,
hey, I got this house when I had this job and my wife had this job, and now one of us got laid off, or our incomes are much lower than expected, and now we're in a house that we're like, oh my gosh, that makes our budget really, really tight. Yeah. So you need to plan for the reality of your contingencies.
Yep. Okay. Decision 3. Ooh, good one. Choosing a career. Your career does determine more than just your salary. There's benefits and all these things, but I would honestly say we're in the world, and I tell you this all the time, people seem to change careers a little more, but I think this financially impacts you because if you are not happy at work or in your career, it is very hard to be, or what's the point of being financially successful if you're white knuckling,
you're miserable every day for 50 years.
And then you go retire, and you know what I mean? I think this is huge. I mean, but you also want to evaluate the opportunity. People need to really understand, like, hey, you need to negotiate your salary, your retirement plan. You know what I mean? You need to look at it as a broader, just like, hey, they're going to pay me X amount right away.
And right, this provides the lifestyle, provides you to save for retirement, provides you to buy your mortgage or to buy your house, to buy your cars, to go on vacations, right? So it is such an important piece, in the decision-making process, and it is hard to see someone that, you know, has a really good job from metrics or from numbers, but you know, they're miserable. Right. And that's the other thing is like, life's too short this is going to be the contradictory side of our financial advice of like, you shouldn't be doing something if you're super miserable, even 100%. If it's you're making way more money.
If you can make 20,000 less and you're less stressed and you have more freedom and time, and we talk about that all the time. That's what money's buying anyways. That's what financial is buying time. So
I'm always a little, who was I telling this morning? But I have a family member that's young. They're not going to college and they've kind of started some bit, in the entrepreneur life. And I'm like, gosh, I'm so jealous of that freedom of like, and not that kids take all your freedom, but
they take a lot of time.
You have more stress, people relying on you, right?
Yes.
And there's a life of like, people are now like, okay, your income matters. You take care of people.
And you want them to have a certain quality of life.
When you have that stage of life where you don't have that
more
yet.
Risk.
There is
a
freedom. Kids. Yes, I'm, and this would be to our younger crowd, younger listeners.
Go for it.
When you're 18, 19, 20, under 25, and you don't have a spouse, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have this yet. That's your time when you go
really
and explore.
Figure out what you want.
Yes, explore and take your risks at that point, because it's life only gets more challenging.
Yes.
The older you get and the more responsibilities that you put on your plate.
I always say there's pre-Baileigh kids and post-Baileigh kids, and we are two very different people. My responsibility, my brain went whoop, time to grow.
Well, it's tough though because we don't we emotionally develop later, especially as males, right? So it's like when you do have that
40, you guys are finally
when you do have that freedom and time, you're not emotionally ready or mature enough to maybe make some of those decisions. So the ones that are there earlier, man, those ones generally kind of catapult and get ahead of the game.
Yeah. Well, and when people are looking at careers, especially, I know if the job market's tight, again, like you're saying, you're younger, you have more time, but if you are in your salary, retirement match, do they have health insurance, bonuses, pensions, like growth potential, I would say is a huge one. Is there am I going to be in the same role, or do they look to, promote me? And these are the questions to discuss. Is there room for me to grow? Am I learning life skills? What benefits am I getting? Does it make sense for me to commute 30 minutes if I'm paying daycare the exact same amount? Like, is there long-term earning potential? Does this job support the life I want?
Underrated aspect of this, this decision, I would think of the people you're going to be exposed to.
Yes.
Right? So
energy. We talk about this all the time.
Just mentorship.
Yes.
Right. Especially if you're changing career, because this doesn't have to be this more relates to a younger person that's maybe getting into the workforce, but it could also be
that's at 40 and hates their job.
And they're a career changer, right? Yeah. It could be that of like, who is someone that you're going to be maybe exposed to in that organization that's maybe going to help you or provide, you can learn from, right? Those are very underrated aspects, of choosing, a different career or a new career.
And you work with a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, when we manage 401ks. Like, think about, you can tell the culture. We talk about this all the time, the culture of a company. We can feel it when we go in or talk to them. Like, work for someone that's going to create culture that you do enjoy going to, because again, the more happy you are and the more growth someone's put on you, the more potential you have financially. They correlate so greatly. All right, Cole, I think this one's for you because, Mr. Entrepreneur here. Starting a business, decision number 4. Should you do it?
Yep. Starting or buying, right? Buying a business, right?
I think buying would be a really good one.
I think that's, obviously a huge decision. Generally, someone that's in this stage or thinking about this is maybe they had exposure to a certain industry. They, say they're an electrician, they work for a company, and they're like, hey, I want to start. We just have a lot. We've got a lot of those.
We are blue collar
in our area, like a lot of electrical, plumbing businesses, a lot of service trades related industries, right, around us. And we've seen this where someone's, got experience and then gone off on their own. And I think that's cool to see. But I do think there's a lot of, this needs to be a very thoughtful process, right?
Probably the most thoughtful, don't you think? Especially buying. Like, you need numbers. You need to look at the math. You need to think about the potential. Go ahead.
Because time is the most important. I think, the most important thing that I value, other than obviously like my family, items thing, there is my time, right? And what does entrepreneurship a lot of times, especially starting or buying, takes a ton of time. So you need to make sure
tremendous opportunity, but
is the risk reward there, right?
You.
Meaning, is it going to be profitable? Am I going to be able to do the things that I want to do? But also, is the risk reward when you take in account for the amount of time and hours and effort that you are going to put in? you need to make sure and run through that analysis. Cause I've had many situations where I'm like, and this is where I'm kind of where I'm trying to dial out of some things because I feel like it's pulled my time for and energy for not enough reward.
Yes.
So I'm like, well, yeah, I'm making money, but it's like, if I just focus more effort over here, I would probably do better.
Yeah.
And that's where sometimes the glitz and glamour of that, of like, hey, owning a business or buying a business seems so, appealing. But when you go and unwind it, you're like, well, yeah, they're making their own schedule and they're doing all their own stuff, but are they really making that much money?
Yes,
right.
That's what I'm saying. You need to look at the numbers. Like, is my time that I'm utilizing to run this business worth the risk? Because I'm not being Debbie Downer, but Bureau of Labor statistics, about 4 of 5 new businesses survive the first year. Around half remain after 5, because it's not every business. Yes, I think being a business owner will catapult your life and has the most opportunity. Like, I was at the lake this weekend with my daughter. I'm like, the people around the lake, not all.
Most of them are entrepreneurs, right? Or
they own the business.
Yeah.
They don't work for the business. That's what I was explaining to her. But you have to know your numbers. And I think that's where people and I'm not saying, sometimes I do think there's the right person, right entrepreneur. They are the business. They're going to make the numbers. But I do think you have to look at it like it's irregular income. There's no benefits. It's on you.
And you need to have, kind of a reality check with yourself of like, there's the two sides of this, right?
Yes.
It's I own a lake house. I run my own schedule side, but then there's also hey, I'm grinding to make payroll. Life's tough. I can't pay my bills.
Yes.
Where's the business coming from? Can you handle both sides of that?
Yes. Right? And most people only see, that side and they think, oh, that's great. But they
must be nice, right? Yes. Those type of things. They didn't see the struggle that's behind the scenes sometimes, especially when you're either just getting started or, hey, maybe you got into the industry and that industry, it kind of changed on you, because that happens, right? Yeah. So you need to understand, hey, can I handle that one, not only financially, but also emotionally? Because it can take a toll on you, right? Of going through those different situations. And don't get me wrong, We're very super entrepreneur, pro
entrepreneur,
but I think it takes you've got to be a specific type of person and a very resilient person to do it.
I will say this, I think the reason a lot fail, because they go just 100% all in. The most successful people slowly transition, meaning, we've had 2 guests, Stella's, Abby Stromberg, I think of, and then Rejuvenate Health and Wellness. They both were basically, for example, Abby put a coffee trailer out. She tried that for 2 years before she had a following, before she put a hard storefront up. So she waited to see, hey, am I actually going to have the customers here? And I think of Rejuvenate Health and Wellness. What's her name? Pause. What's her name? She was our guest. What's her name? Oh my God, I'm spacing her name.
Andrea.
Thank you. Rejuvenate Health and Wellness. Andrea was on our podcast. She worked at the hospital for X amount of years. We have another guest coming up. She's now an entrepreneur on her own, but she said, hey, I waited. I worked my job for 7 years to make sure I had enough clients before I made the flip. So my point is, I'm not saying don't go 100% on the business, but there's ways you can do it where you can test it, to see if it's going to work.
Or maybe not take as much risk. Right?
Yeah, and then kind of figure out, is this really what I want to do? Is there actually a demand for this, is what I'm trying to say. How can my house survive this if I transition? So there's ways to do it without just saying, and if you're looking to buy someone's business, again, I really think don't just buy it because hey, it's successful. You need you need to understand the ins and outs of it and the risk reward.
Yep.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.
All right, decision 5. Can't go back. Having and raising kids.
Sometimes these aren't decisions, right? Sometimes it just happened, and you're like, shucks. Now we gotta make a plan to go this direction.
Well, children definitely change more than the monthly spending. They change your priorities, your career choices. I mean, insurance. They really just change. We were living in Des Moines pre-kids, and we instantly were like, okay, considering, do we want to move back where it's more affordable, around family with health? Like, those are things like that, having or not having kids, which I don't know the stats, Peter. Maybe you should look it up. More people are prolonging to have kids.
Oh yeah, there's people
not having kids.
We're having less kids for sure. There's no doubt about that.
But things you need to think about: cost, daycare. Holy crap, is that expensive? We bless up housing, food, healthcare. I mean, there's just cost.
Travel, sports.
Cole's baseball, Kale's baseball.
Yeah.
But I think it's important. What kind of childhood are we providing, or what activities truly matter? Like, how much do we want to support them in college? Do we have, do we have enough life insurance? Number one, my financial advisor hat comes on. Please, if you have children, have some sort of term life insurance young as you're accumulating, please. Like, if that's one thing you hear today and you're 35 and you have 3 little rugrats, please go do that.
Obviously, if unplanned, unexpected, right? You've got to go with the punches and go. If it's something where you're like, hey, should we have kids right now or later, or really go through that thought analysis of like, hey, how is this going to change maybe our retirement goals? Right? Because now what are you doing? You're saving for daycare, or you're saving for college,
cars,
or whatever it might be. And that might come at a detriment to your plans, right? And that's where, and which is fine. You've just got to know that depending on where you're at, right? And you start to rank. There's more priorities now on the list of things that you need to rank. Okay, paying for kids' college, that's now moves up and maybe bumps out the lake house, right? Or whatever it might be. It's one of those things, and I think it's if you're thinking about this, you have a responsibility to be thoughtful on this. And because maybe it is like, now is not the right time. Maybe we need to wait a year because we need to get these couple things.
Or I would enjoy it more.
Yes.
And we're not saying prolong having kids. That's not what we're saying.
Not
but
at
that's
all.
Definitely the whole episode is this will impact your life. I'm telling you, kids, everyone knows this who has kids. It's number one. It's like, and financially number one. It comes up all the time.
All your other decisions generally deviate based on the things you're trying to provide for your kids or your family, right? And then, everything's got to fall in line to be in accordance with that.
If it's really important for one spouse, like, hey, I really want to be home through ages 1 through 7, we're on one income. What does that look like? Do you need to go get a higher paying job? Are you on boat with that? Like, these are the I mean, if you hear anything, I always say this, I'm all about conversations. The more conversations you have in life, the better things are going to go for you. But honestly, this is a huge, impactful decision. All right. Decision number 6, paying off debt or investing.
This is always
everyone always asks
right?
us, should I pay off the debt or should I invest? And go ahead.
You'll hear me say this probably over and over, and I've said this probably 15 times on the podcast of, 1, it's very situational, and 2, I think there's such a high discipline factor that comes into this.
Do you think most people don't have that discipline? Statistically.
Yes. So I will tell you. I want to add to that.
I want to add that.
I actually think if you're looking at it and you're like, I have no idea, just pay off the debt.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're like, nope, the math's too close, pay off the debt, because once that's paid off, right?
Your income increases.
Yeah, you didn't, and if you're paying off all your debt, right, then it's great. Yeah. Then you can just start doing everything else. But sometimes this comes in accordance with like, hey, maybe I received an inheritance or a life insurance policy, or I got a bonus from work or whatever it might be. And you're running that analysis of that. Now, downfall is, I do think it's hard when people tell me, hey, I'm going to cash out some investments to pay off debt. Now, sometimes that is warranted. I'm like, yep, do it. It makes complete sense. But I do know
we're habit people, though.
The time value, right, of getting, say you have a lump sum in an account, it's very difficult if you cash that all out. Say there's $100,000, you're going to pay off your mortgage. How long is it going to take you with your income to replace that $100,000
and be invested?
Yes, and be invested. Is one, now you're missing out on any future. Say it takes you 5 years to get that money back. You missed out on 5 years of compounded growth. Yes. Now, again, knowing if you're someone that's going to waste that $100,000 anyways, right? Or hey, I'm going to buy a new car. Or I'm going to do this. Go pay off whatever bad debt you might have. And move forward. So at least you don't have the debt.
This is, to me, 100% behavior, financial behavior. And there's so much out on it. Like, I always say, if you're going to cash out or pay off or you rather invest, but if you're making 8% in your investment account over time annually, but you have a bunch of credit cards, you're really not making 8%. So that's what we're talking about. You got to understand. But I think
the type of debt matters. Right?
Yes, type of debt matters, but also like it's behavior. Like if you're just going to go ahead and wipe out 50,000 of credit card debt, but you haven't fixed the behavior of why you're accruing debt. Like I think people, this is where shame comes in, like about debt, like, oh, student debt, like they don't want to look at, oh, I have a lot of, just come to reality. The sooner you get the habit of not having that debt like that, then the sooner you're investing. Yes, I would love everyone to start investing at age 18, put $50 away for the rest of your life. Usually doesn't happen. Most people are like, oh shoot, I wish I wouldn't have accumulated this debt and invested sooner, but just be where you're at, but also behavior, like know your spending habits. This comes to spending habits to me.
I would rank these. So let's take in my mind, maybe I'm missing, here's the 4 most common debts we would see.
Yes.
1 would be credit cards, student loans. Number 2, number 3 would be auto loans. Number 4 would be mortgages, right? Yep. I would say worst of the worst right there is credit cards, right? Credit cards is gonna be your highest interest rate. You know, if you're running a balance month over month, you're probably paying anywhere from 18 to 28%. APY, right? And then you go to your student loans / auto loans. This kind of depends. There's all kinds of student loans out there. Yeah. Some can be good, some can be bad, you know, deferred interest on. But auto loans are generally the ones people, I think, the downfall with the student loan, right, is like you don't have anything back in it, right? It's like, oh, I have my degree, but you know, no one's giving you collateral on your degree.
You could have student debt without that too.
Yeah. But on the car, right, at least you have a car that's somewhat backing, but the problem is so many people are upside down, meaning, hey, they were able to borrow 95% of that car and it goes down 15 to 20% a year in value. So it's like, well, if you're not paying it back as fast. Yeah. So with those 4, I'd say if you got at least 3 out of the 4, I'm probably going to, you know, be more likely to tell you to pay those off versus investing if it's student loans, credit cards, or your auto loan. Auto loans are terrible. We have an issue in the auto loan.
It's like the
world.
Average car payment's like $800 or $900 a month. I'm like, oh,
you know what the crap part about that is too?
It makes my stomach hurt. I literally just got a little.
You know how good cars are now? Like you can drive a car, like you can drive an F-150. You can buy a 2015 F-150 pickup and drive. Sometimes you can get 300,000-400,000 miles out of that pickup. Right. And everyone's that's the one thing. And this is I have a brand new truck, so I shouldn't even be preaching on this. But I'm like, it's really
my Toyota Highlander's running 100,000 more miles.
Such a nice car now that can last you so long. I think we've gotten caught in this like perception of like, we've got to have new cars. And I agree. I know. So a new car is cool. It's cool for like 10 seconds. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, now I just have a big liability here.
And I tell people rewire that. Like, every dollar of expense you eliminate is a dollar you don't need to earn. So it's like, you know what I mean? If you don't have a car payment and, for example, my husband has no PTO. He works for a union. If he's going to be off for a nose surgery, bless up. Good luck, Luke. For 3 weeks, the less expenses we have, our lives, like, so it's not even just about, yes, I want to put more in investment, but it's also the freedom of like, you can't put interest rate.
I don't have a $900 car payment.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to get at. Thank you. And that makes life so much different. And I always say this, you cannot put an interest rate on an emergency fund. Like, yes, it might only be making 3%, but that emergency fund allowed you not to touch the investment like Cole's talking about. So good discussion, Cole. Big impact. Big impact there. All right. Number 7, skip this. I'm not helping them. I'm just kidding. Decision number 7, helping family financially.
This is you got to be careful what you open up here. Right? Yeah. As a person, if you're the family member that has the means, and you kind of seem to be the one that, hey, whether it's a child or a brother or sister that says, hey, can I borrow some money from you, right? Yeah. Or
it's not coming back.
And most of the time it is not, right? Need to be prepared to have that conversation, right? If you know this is maybe you've did this and got burnt in the past. You as a successfully financial person, right? If someone's willing to ask you for money, they probably assume you have money, right? And if it's a child, they might know more than, others, like, oh, mom and dad are doing well, I can ask them. Yes. You need to be prepared to have that conversation. One, to either say no or have a process in place for when someone asks you. This is I don't know what podcast I was listening to or something, but a lot of, we always hear the story of professional athletes, their family asking for money, right?
Or someone comes into some money.
Or asking for donations or whatever it might be. And the really, really ones end up really successful, ones that have told their story. A lot of times it's like, I'll check into it, but I have a team that handles that for me, right? And that's where a lot of times people can use us as that crutch. And it might be is like, you're going to say no. You just want to have, you just don't feel comfortable saying no. It's like, hey, let me talk to my financial team. And,
let me talk to my advisor, see if I can afford
this. I do, it buys you time. And one, it allows you to bounce an idea off someone else, right? Not to just immediately let the emotion take control, because what happens, right?
A lot of times, a loan right away. That's going to,
Yep. Or you're like, yes, I'll lend you the money. It's my daughter. I'm going to help her out. And a lot of times that's the case. And we don't want to tell people to say no to their family in a time of need. But if it's going to be a detriment to your situation, how much are you really going to help them long term?
Yeah. I was just going to say, a lot of people, when they have natural consequences, when they have a natural consequence, that's when they actually make change. But if you just help them, it doesn't eliminate their problem. Some people need problems to figure out their own life through this situation. But I also want to go on another part of this, also a caregiver role. Think about adult children or having a parent live with you. Like, these are discussions that will impact you financially. The average family caregiver spends $7,200 a year out of pocket. That means, like, if I'm taking care of mom and dad, like I brought them in or I'm helping them out, they're old, like, you need to have these conversations. I don't know. That's a toughie. What do you think on that? Like that one's the caregiver role, like,
definitely tough. It's hard to be as planned because you don't know when that's coming. Right. So
don't I know?
But do know if you're a person, again, if you're there's kind of like a catch-all of the family. Who's the person that, say there's 4 or 5 siblings and
who's yours?
Yeah, it's me, right? A lot of my family asks me for advice or they'll run ideas by me, right? That person, and if you're that person in the family, know at some point when mom and dad age, you could be the person that's either one responsible for maybe it's using their money to pay their bills, but you might be in charge, or it's, hey, if they run out of money, who does that burden fall on? What steps and making sure, not that you can prepare for everything, but maybe being aware of like, hey, this could be a problem.
Yeah. Right? And it could be a financial impact. If I help them, I might have to work 2 or 3 more years because, go ahead, Peter.
I was going to say, I heard somebody once help your family members out for free with your skills, not necessarily always with your money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like if you're a construction dude and it's like, well, I'll come help you roof your house.
Yes.
I'm not going to pay for it, but I'll help you do it.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Guidance. And like, I think I've even heard people say, hey, I want to take $30,000 out of my 401k to help my son with his first house. It's like, let's pump the brake. Is this going to impact you long term? Or is it really worth you working 3 more years to have your son, again, a material thing that can be patiently waited for?
Why can't they wait a year or two and save and make them save the money? And traditionally, if you can afford to do that,
and what boundaries are needed actually here?
Go ahead. But again, if it's just am
I solving a problem or am I delaying it? You know what I mean? And that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't help family, but most time the help is guidance, not.
And there's a reason why is there down payments required, right? Because then there's not only there's skin in the game, but it shows proof that you have some assets to be able to purchase. And, whether it's a, first time home buyers are generally unique, right? Because you can get 5% or less down. But most of the time, if you're a new buyer, a lot of times the bank's going to require 20% down, or think on the business side. If I buy an asset on the business side, sometimes it's 20 to 30% down. Mm-hmm. Why? Because the bank knows, hey, there's risk in them lending me the money. So there needs to be some cushion there. Absolutely. Right? And if I can't provide that cushion, I'm not qualified to do that.
And so I'm not ready for it. So I'd rather have the conversation. You're not ready. I'd love to help you, but it's really not help because it's going to financially sink us both.
Or challenge them of, okay, here's what we'll do. You want to buy a house. You need $30,000. Let's wait a year. Yeah. If you commit to saving, your mortgage would have been XYZ. You get to $15,000 1 year from now, save for your down payment. I'll provide you the other $15,000. You show me the proof that you're disciplined enough to do this. We'll both provide some money at that point. That's a great way as like, especially if you have the means. That's a good way of like, hey, I'm teaching them of like, there's going to be something you're going to provide. It's not me just handing over the $30,000. You get the house.
It's a lesson in
right? There's some give and take there, and you give that. It's an opportunity to teach.
And it's really an opportunity they're probably going to figure out they could do it on their own anyways.
Yeah. Or if they can't, it's like, hey, we shouldn't do this. You don't have the discipline to be able to do this. I'm not wasting my $30,000.
Yeah.
That's so close to what my parents did for me when I was growing up. It was like, I want to buy a video game. And they said, if you save the whole amount for yourself, we'll pay for half of it. So I had to save the full amount.
Oh, there you go.
And then they were like, well, now you get to choose what you want to do with the other half. And you know how hard you had to work to get it.
Oh, that's great.
So great. So awesome.
Yeah. I love that. All right, number 8, decision number 8. Have you figured out your number, Cole? When to retire. It's not simply just choosing a date. It's like, how much income do you need? I think people think I'm retiring at 65 and I'm set on that age. Well, it's like, really, no, what income do you need at 65? And how long do you think we were talking about longevity off air. Like,
it always comes down to your float or your spending, your needs, right? And it's like, obviously everyone knows retirement's a huge, it seems to be this big outcome, or goal that everyone wants to achieve at some point, most people. But a lot of times people just do not know what do they actually need
and what is retirement going to look
and
like.
Want.
Yeah. Like, what am I going to be doing on a Tuesday? And am I going to be am I traveling all in retirement? How much money do I need to produce? You know what I mean? Like, that's where I do think we really thrive with people is like
Agreed.
Sitting down and being like, okay, let's one, look at the numbers, but two, do you really want to retire? Like, let's look at the lifestyle. And so, yeah, some people absolutely won't have a number and want to retire and be done, but
there's such a, it's so unique because obviously we deal with it every day. So it's easy for us to like, okay, we kind of know benchmarks and numbers and hey, you have this, we can probably make this work, right?
We can produce this.
But there's some people that like, they have so much and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can retire. And then you have some that are like,
it's always the opposite.
They don't have that much. And you're like, man, this is going to be very tight. So I don't know where you get your numbers, but
it is.
This doesn't work in my math, So,
and it's the obvious math. It's always the people, if they're always like, can I retire yet? I'm like, the answer.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to retire. And again, those are kind of the people that won't discuss the other things we've talked about. They're the people that didn't discuss the family quarrels and helping each other out. They're the ones that didn't discuss in spouse.
They have the credit cards.
Yes.
They have
it's
they have multiple cars. They have
decisions 1 through 7 are directly impacting.
Yep. They all kind of snowball at some point.
The
right?
people who are having all those conversations, they're the ones that are able to retire. And then it's exciting. Like, oh yeah, we're going to be just fine. But I think it's super impactful because it also, you need to plan, how long am I going to work? Am I able to work this job this long? Like we talked about it. That's why you want to enjoy your work. Like the most people that enjoy their work seem to do much better financially, and retirement doesn't seem like such a heavy decision on them because they're like, I love what I'm doing. I could do it for a couple more years. No big deal. You know what I mean? It's the people that hate their jobs. Like, I want to retire today.
One step kind of compounds to the next, to the next, to the next. Right.
Yeah.
And the more that you can, we're talking about 10 largest, there's many more, but the more that you can say, hey, I handled this decision successfully, or in a, from a strong point, it's going to compound you to the next one, right? And make the next decision easier.
All right. Decision 9, receiving an inheritance.
Decision or situation, right? Yeah.
Situational, because statistically,
Peter,
most people
I'm
do
deciding that I'm your beneficiary. So, so I'm going to receive an inheritance when Peter dies.
Oh, that's so great. A windmill, but like
it's like how to handle
a windfall,
it.
A bonus,
how to handle it.
Let's say you sell a business, not even just inheritance, like a big bonus. Like these are decisions like, what if I took this big bonus and paid down the debt that we're, you know what I mean? Or people get really excited. And this is so much, again, behavior, emotional reactions to quick money.
We've talked about this a lot because this is a hot topic, right? Someone wins the lottery or the professional athlete or whatever it might be. First and foremost is don't make a decision right away.
Not a permanent.
Right? Just,
yes.
It's okay to have some money in the bank and not do anything with it for a minute, or to like not cash the check and go buy a new car or buy a boat or buy a house, right? You can be thoughtful. Ask your team, right? If you're coming into a significant amount, whether it's inheritance or you sold a business, I'd hope you to have a team around you that's, giving you some guidance. And by team, I mean, an estate planning attorney, your accountant or CPA, your financial advisor, your banker, whatever it might be. Take a deep breath.
Yes.
There's
always different tax consequences. Yes. There's identifying your short and long-term goals. I mean, develop a plan. Like, don't just like. You can tell people who come into a windfall of money how quickly how quickly it can be gone.
Unexpected inheritance, right? Is the first, like I'll see it and it's like, they'll be like, oh, we've had this conversation where like the money's going to stay. I'm just going to keep it invested. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, we bought a new car. We need $75,000. You immediately know, you're like, okay, this money's going out the door. You're not probably going to stop it, and it just will snowball, and all of a sudden $300,000 of inheritance is gone like that.
And then they want to continue to live like that.
Yep.
And they can't. So It is interesting. This is where I feel like we have
them damn cars. I swear, everyone when they get inheritance, if they're haven't like thought, like they haven't had their dollars themselves already, or like a significant portion, and they're not used to that type of money, they default to buying a car.
What do you think that is? I want to know that, because
it's a material item that you can get right away.
I'd go on a trip. I don't need the car.
The trip is the thing. That'd be my crutch. You'd be like, okay,
just so you know,
I'm going on a 14-day cruise.
If I received an inheritance, I already did X, Y, Z. So you know what I mean? Which bless up, not getting one. But I just think again.
You don't know. Maybe I'm putting you on a life policy or something.
Oh,
maybe
that's what we'll do. We're both super
you're
healthy.
like 95.
I'll be like, Chelsea, kick him off the cliff in Arizona.
I'll have in my will. Remember that podcast that we did?
Oh, that's great. But again, like the people that have everything aligned, the ones that receive the inheritance, like you many people I'm like, oh, they have it together. That money is staying. I can tell right away when they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep it with you. And I'm like, and I'm not saying, you don't have to keep it with me. Like, and one, it's not with me, it's with you. I'm just trying to do what's best for you. But you can tell it's already gone before they got it. So again, it could be very impactful. It could be life-changing too, for the positive.
This is much more difficult when it's unplanned.
Yes.
Right. Unexpected. Right. When it's a business sale, you kind of have a lead time of like, okay, 18 months, 2 years of like time. You've kind of been thinking about it already.
Yep.
But say an uncle dies and they didn't have any children, and all of a sudden you inherit $1 million. A lot of times that can be, it can be a good thing. Don't get me wrong. Inheritances can be great.
Go to that episode.
There can be times where that is just a detrimental downfall and people are not prepared for that a lot of times, unfortunately.
I agree. All right. Number 10, the last big decision, leaving a legacy. Dun, dun, dun. But a legacy, again, I think people think, oh, how much money I left behind. And it's way more than that. It's whether about the money is organized, it's transferable. Is it connected to your personal values? One, the amount of legacies that would be just better, even though it's a little amount, just by being organized with named beneficiaries. Like that itself, like is a gift. You know what I'm saying?
I think this is an underrated. I don't know how to phrase this, but underrated. I would say an underrated thought of someone's estate plan of how impactful this can be, but you don't really get to enjoy the, you don't, because if it's your money and you die and people don't get the money till you die, you don't really get to enjoy it. But I think this is like, for me personally, such a thing that one of the reasons I want to accumulate wealth is I want to have some type of impact when I'm gone that lives charitable, beyond me. Yeah.
Kids, grandkids.
I think my kids are going to be fine. My grandkids are going to be fine. Mm-hmm. Right. That's what it is like, and I haven't found the thing that I'm like completely like, hey, this is where, and it might not be one thing, it might be 10 things that money goes to. I'm just talking like I'm going to have like, this huge estate or whatever.
I'm getting some clearly in a life policy.
But this is such a huge decision beyond just your family. If you've accumulated wealth, right? Then how impactful and thoughtful that you can be with your estate plan and leaving a legacy, whether that's leaving it to, some local charity or your church or whatever it might be. A very powerful piece. And that's where, I love like with what you talked about Eddie already again. When you have conversations with him and he's seen it in practice, and we've seen it in practice, right? Yeah. We've seen charities receive money. I've sit on boards where someone left money in their estate plan and how much of an impact that had in the community. And I think this is, in legacy, most people think they're family, right?
Yeah.
But it can go so much deeper than that. The family is just kind of the default option.
But I also think about this in another way too. You're like, oh, you don't enjoy it because you're gone, but you can enjoy it. There's something you can tell. And again, perspective of our job, when we sit with people and they haven't had the conversations with their kids versus the people that have had, or the people that are still like, I need to make this decision and I haven't made it. And you have clients that are already doing gifting and how much they're enjoying it, but think how much they're teaching their kids by having it organized. Like I was talking to a good friend and she's like, and there's a business involved, and she's like, it's great. Like our parents have already sat down and said, this is the plan. Here's who gets what. They don't want anyone fighting because again, they're already making that legacy by showing them. We have conversations about it. We make hard decisions. Fair is not equal. Equal is not fair. We want to make an impact. And those are like, to me, that gives me goosebumps just thinking about that impact alone, having it organized, because we also see the other end and think of how many lawyers when you're waiting for a 2-year probate because they can't figure out who they have to do the estate. And
everyone's fighting.
Yeah. So
leaving a legacy can mean so many different things.
Yes.
So very powerful.
All right. What's your biggest decision that you're like, yes, I nailed that one? I already know what you're going to say.
My biggest decision? Oh, my wife.
Yeah,
by,
I knew
by
you were
chance.
gonna say that.
There's
Yeah,
no doubt
Because-
about it. I think that's the most important thing as a young male, and I'm sure females.
Yeah.
I can't speak from a female perspective,
absolutely.
but
Agree.
The most important decision you'll make is who is your life partner, and
Yes.
if you're gonna
Who
have
you're doing
children,
life with.
the mother of your children. I
Yes.
think it's so important, and the trajectory of my life is way different and so much better than it would be without, if I wasn't with Chelsea.
And I agree with that because you have to have, we see it too, shared values, commonality, but the communicating piece because none of this matters, financial wealth, if you're fighting or you guys are low key, like stressed all the time.
Communication's a common theme always in these, right?
Which is behavior. So yeah.
Rapid fire.
Yeah.
I always do the rapid fire.
shoot.
I got rapid fire questions for you, and I know
was
you're not.
not
I know you're not prepared. Okay, so we're gonna do this because I know we're
I have
getting
no
long.
idea what the questions are.
We're coffee filled. We're long winded. I'm slumping in my chair.
We went long today.
All right. Biggest financial mistakes people make in their 20s.
Buying a house that's out of their, or just not knowing what they're making. You know what I mean? And overspending on a house.
How about their 30s? We're going through the stages here.
Divorce.
Ah, okay.
That's a very impactful, which comes back to one.
Like divorce, spouse.
Yeah.
So
because
selection of spouses, it kind of impacts in your 30s a lot of times.
Yeah, because if you picked wrong at 20, it's unfortunate and we see it, but that's a big setback.
How about 40s?
Not knowing where you're going financially.
Yep. Kind of lost.
Yeah.
Right? I would say that's a good way. Yeah.
And not knowing, like, why am I doing this? Do I like I would say, again, career. Like if I'm in my 40s, I really want to be where I'm feeling either like I need to grow in my career or I'm happy and I'm really making an impact.
50s. This one's getting a little tougher.
Yeah, because I'm trying to envision what I see 50-year-olds old. They don't know hobbies. Like they're just either working all the time. Hobbies. Like they're like, does that make sense? Purpose. Like, yeah,
right?
Like 50s. Like they're hitting that age where like I'm starting to think about retirement. But what would I do in retirement? So like, and am I saving enough?
Last one, 60s.
60s. Like financially?
Yeah. Mistakes people make.
Mistakes. Inheritance.
Okay.
Because that's when you're probably more likely to inherit it, and how it could be. Like imagine inheriting $50,000 and putting it away for 10 years versus buying a truck.
I would say,
say
on the 60s, I'll just chime in on that one. I would say not being as
aggressive.
That's a good one, but not being as strategic and thoughtful about, hey,
yes,
when I'm retiring,
estate
making
planning.
making those decisions. I think there's just so many people that are just kind of winging it in their 60s. Like, I'm kind of getting to 65 because that's Medicare age. And more, I was like, not being more thoughtful and having more purpose around your retirement. Specifically your date.
I want to go back to my 20s. I want to go back to 20s. I disagree on the house thing.
What would you say?
If you're going to school, the ROI on your college. I was thinking about this. Like, if I'm going to be a doctor, absolutely ROI.
Yeah, that's a
Dentist,
decade. So 20s can be like young 20s.
Yeah. I'm just thinking like 20s, like career path. Like, go for it. If you don't have any kids, like, you know what I mean? Don't worry about the house. Like, know your debt, college debt situation. Get rid of it if you have it, and ROI on it. Like, don't just go to college to go to college. If that makes sense.
All right, for both of you, one financial decision you'd change if you could. One that you've made. Doesn't have to be the top 10 that we did here today. One that you've made.
You go first, Peter.
I'm going to be honest. I haven't made a whole lot of financial decisions in my life. I've kind of kicked a lot of them down the road. And honestly, I started investing really young. I wholeheartedly wish I was more aggressive at a younger age investing.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good one.
I'd be retired by now easily. And I know that's weird saying it, but I would have so much more now if I actually was aggressive with it and did what I should have done when I was in my 20s.
Yeah. It's easy to go, and I said this off air, it's so much easier now to reflect on all these that you've lived them than actually do them in your 20s. But again, if I was in my 20s, I'd invest more sooner and understand debt. Like, I think, you know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? Like the car thing, the college thing, like life perspective. Do I really want to be in my 20s driving? Which I wasn't, but I'm just saying, like, understanding life decisions, like how buying this car, understanding interest rate, how is this going to impact my future? If I live in this city, how is it going to impact my future? I don't really have regrets though. I'm looking back, I'm thinking, I'm like, if anything, I wish I would
just do some things a little bit different.
I don't have a big decision, but I would probably say take more risk. But that's easy to say now because I didn't take the risk where I'm you know what I mean? It's just like,
I mean, you bring up a good point. Hindsight's 2020. I would have never bought a DVD or a CD in my entire life had I known I could have just spent $18 and streamed everything that ever existed.
No doubt, right? It changed. The life changed.
I don't live in a lot of regret because I'm always like, I learned something from it, or it pivoted me to a way. And if I regret it, then I'm just going to, everyone has stupid, I mean, there's purchases I'm like, that was a waste of money that you thought you were going to use and stupid. What about you?
I don't know. I was thinking about, as I asked them, I was like,
you've been an adult since you were 18.
I'm not a big regret person either. I would say I would have been a little more selective. I've almost was the opposite of you two, where I dove into some stuff. I'm very early on. I dove in and learned, and I took more risks.
But look how it's paid dividends now on your experience.
And now, one thing that I think that I had a leg up, I understood the system, the bank, especially with real estate and financial, like how to borrow money. And I knew from an entrepreneur standpoint, kind of how to position myself to be able to do that from a very early age. I wish I would have been a little more thoughtful on some of the decisions I made at that point, because I knew how to, I had a little bit of a leg up on how to work a little bit on the banking. Not to say I was like working angles. I just understood how things
manipulating,
worked, right? I was like, I know how to get loan. I know how to loan or borrow money or get access to capital.
And just because you could, wish you would have had
I wish I'd have just been a little
decision.
more strategic in that, because I was like, some of that stuff compounded really well, right? And I still have. Some of the things I'm now like, I want to get out of, I don't want to do, or I maybe wasted some time, energy, effort. But I also am a big believer in make decisions, learn life lessons, and move on. And that was where I got a ton of experience, trial by fire. And I don't think younger people, there's almost no better way to learn is like trial and error.
And anyone listening to this, when you're learning how to make financial decisions, I would say one thing, I wish I would have exposed myself to financial information at a much younger age. I think most people wait until their mid-20s to start really thinking about retirement investment. You know what I mean? Like when you're young, you're young, but still, like if you're starting to understand how loans work and budget works and profit and loss of a business and all that, just, it's just like wealthy people hang around wealthy people for a reason, like which is going to get to your quote, but like high achievers hang around, they don't, hang around high achievers. So who you surround yourself with, there's no limitations.
It's wild how literally everything you guys have talked about ties right back into what you talked about just a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it's all compounding.
It's all compounds together.
Behavior.
This is such a great episode.
Oh, thanks, Peter. All right, what's the quote, Cole?
Yeah, and this sparked a conversation. We were talking about the quote before we started filming. This sparked quite a conversation. So
we've been in this room a long time.
All right, the great Nick Saban. Mediocre people don't like high achievers, and high achievers don't like mediocre people.
You've been listening to How to Money with Cole and Baileigh, the podcast of Full Swing Financial Planning. To learn more, visit their website at www.fullswingfinancial.com and follow them on Facebook and LinkedIn. Security and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.